What widely accepted fact do you know is wrong? We only use 10% of our brain. So, what, like 12%? Edit, I'm getting serious replies to this. Totally appreciate it, don't get me wrong, but I was just kidding with this comment. Saying we use 10% of our brain is like saying we only use 1/3 of our traffic lights. You don't really have analogy to monosodium glutamate. Wait until the Karens know that their bodies also produce MSG. Schizophrenia has nothing to do with a split personality. There is also a pretty big difference between someone being moody and someone who has bipolar disorder. Drives me crazy when someone says that someone is so bipolar if they change their minds often or are in a bad mood. People generally don't know about the severity of the ups and downs. Agreed. There is little awareness of the severity of manic phases. But have you seen Ozark Season 2? One of the main characters has bipolar 1 and it's one of the best depictions of mental illness I've seen in a long time, best of bipolar I've ever seen. Edit, Season 3. Slaves built the pyramids. Explain. Egyptians kept slaves, but for agriculture or household work. Pyramids were built with a skilled labor force when the crops weren't growing, like a construction version of National Guard service. Moreover, Israelites never worked on the pyramids, slave or free. They didn't arrive in Egypt until 1500 to 2000 years after the period when the pyramids were built. Frankenstein isn't the name of the monster. It's the name of the doctor who created the monster. But I saw this great comment on a YouTube video: knowledge is knowing Frankenstein isn't the monster. Wisdom is knowing that Frankenstein is the monster. Frankenstein is a surname, he was created by Dr. Frankenstein, hence his name is Adam Frankenstein. Inherited surname and whatnot from what's essentially his father. Also, Victor Frankenstein never actually got a doctorate or became a doctor. He was a goddamn college student that only cared about alchemy and was laughed at by his professors. Gladiators did not kill each other. The sport was much more civil and it even had a referee. The spectacle of the games included brutal executions, sometimes of hundreds of people. These executions were done in the most creative ways possible, like throwing people to hungry lions. The gladiators were the least brutal part of the games, that the human only has 5 senses. But I can see dead people, so. Don't think that's one of the multiple senses we have, but there are well over 5. That different places on your tongue taste different things such as sour. Wait, what? I was taught this literally today in bio class. Edit, okay, why the fuck do I have this bigger thread under me? My comment was answered 2 or 3 replies down. Please stop commenting. When you go to the class next week, take a salt shaker with you. Ask the teacher to put salt on a non-salt tasting zone on their tongue. Ask them if they can taste the salt. Spoiler, they will be able to taste the salt. Glass is actually an extremely viscous, slow-flowing liquid. That's why old windows are thicker on the bottom. No, it isn't. It's very clearly a solid. It's a disordered, non-crystalline solid, but still solid. Old windows are thicker on the bottom because they were designed that way. I have never heard that bullshit before. I've heard it a few times. My materials science professor spent some time ranting against it in class. That medieval/ancient people only lived to be 32 years old, and at that age, they were considered ancient. That estimate is an average, which means it accounts for high infant/child mortality. Lots of ancient people lived to their 80s and older. If you made it to 30, chances are good you're making it another 30 plus years. The average for a Roman senator, so someone with a pretty solid life, was 69. Yeah, even in the modern world 60 to 70 is when major health problems creep in pretty fast. Without medicine I can definitely imagine that being a common death age. NASA spent $1 inventing a pen that worked in space and the Russians used pencils. Total bollocks. The Fisher Pen Company was independent and developed its space pen with zero investment from NASA. American astronauts began using mechanical pencils in space. tiny fragments of graphite, and graphite dust floating around the spacecraft was not ideal because graphite is conductive. It's also flammable, so everyone was keen to find an alternative. Fisher patented its first zero-gravity pen in 1965, and in 1967 NASA began using it. By 1969 Russia were also buying them for their space missions. Reportedly both NASA and the Soviet Space Company received the same discount for their bulk purchases. Thank you. Thus one is a perfect example of misunderstanding something complicated, the US federal procurement system, and drawing the exact wrong conclusion because of it. The Russians were smarter because they just used a pencil. A similar myth is that the DoD would deliberately spend $600 on a single hammer. Rather, this was an accounting artifact due to contractors claiming a flat overhead price on a spare parts buy. Split up evenly amongst all the spare parts, the cheap parts look ridiculously overpriced, but the expensive stuff, like engines, look ridiculously cheap. And then we ignore the cheap price on engines and focus only on the expensive hammers. Sugarcane grows faster on sand. Well, you can blame Minecraft for that one. Same with diamonds are blue. Blue diamonds are actually one of the rarest color of diamond. That carrots help with your eyesight. It was propaganda by the Allies in World War II to hide the fact that they had radar. If you don't have enough vitamin A, also called keratin, you can get blind. So it's not completely wrong. Exactly. Vitamin A is very important in proper vision, but it doesn't determine your vision abilities. If you're legally blind or use glasses, vitamin A won't fix it, but it's still necessary. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Oh my god, egg. Think that saying was invented by the guy who invented Kellogg's Corn Flakes. Still smart though. Nah, he just wanted people to stop masturbating. It came around during a marketing campaign to make bacon a staple food, along with the eat a big, dense breakfast first thing in the morning instead of a few light meals through the morning. It was a very successful campaign. Schrodinger's cat means the exact opposite of the common knowledge, pop culture understanding. He was not saying there was both alive and dead. He was trying to assert that superposition, in quantum theory, was absurd by creating an absurd conclusion, that because we cannot see the cat, it is therefore both alive and dead. https://n.m.wiki/c3%b6stinger%27s_cat. It's like Farnsworth's line in Futurama. They changed the outcome by measuring it. That joke was based on the observer effect. https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/observer_effect_physics. The lawsuit over McDonald's coffee burn wasn't some ridiculous old lady looking to cheat the system and get money. She was legit severely burned and basically got very little money out of it. McDonald's purposely made the woman look like she was suing them for something ridiculous to cover their butts. Poor lady just wanted her medical bills covered. Napoleon wasn't small. He was just the victim of good propaganda by the eventual winners. Also, his personal guard had a strict height requirement, so he was always around someone taller than him. That, and at the time the French were using a different sized inch than the English, so his official French height sounded small to the English, who were used to bigger numbers for height. We are here for you during these unprecedented times. I work in higher education. They have been saying this throughout the pandemic. They announced yesterday that staff will not receive their annual raise or bonus. They have also furloughed staff. Faculty, which includes administration, will receive those raises and bonus, and none have been furloughed. Even in the email where they told us we would not receive the raise/bonus, it was this shit: we're here for you, we appreciate you, blah, blah, blah. We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. Now go buy Coca-Cola. We are experiencing a temporary high volume of phone calls. Your call is important to us. This, and please listen carefully as our options have recently changed. The first is to make people more likely to wait happily. Second is to try and get them to pay attention to the options which haven't been changed in 20 years. People definitely expected the Spanish Inquisition. #lies. They gave people a heads up, I remember reading somewhere. Cutting your hair makes it grow faster. Or shaving makes it thicker. It is actually true to a certain extent. The first batch of hair that grows sort of tapers off at the top. So when you shave and the hair regrows, it now only regrows with the thicker end, giving the illusion of increased volume. There are some idiots out there who believe shaving will give them hair where it doesn't grow. The Great Wall of China can be seen from space. Space, however, can be seen from the Great Wall of China. Lol, this guy believes in space. You do not consume spiders while you sleep. It was one of the first misinformation memes. I did once wake up with a huge spider on my face toe. But you didn't eat it. Because that's not a thing that actually happens. That cracking your knuckles too often will cause arthritis. This thread reads like a spotter's guide to stuff my mum told me when I was young. My mum still says such stuff by reading it off of WhatsApp forwards. If you have a cold, you should get lots of vitamin C. This is completely down to one scientist called Linus Pauling, who had a theory that massive doses of vitamin C would cure colds. Subsequent studies have shown he was wrong and any benefits are minimal at best. Yet I still get everyone telling me to drink orange juice whenever I get a sniffle. My dad has smoked for 45 years and still thinks he's fine because he drinks a glass of orange juice every day. My stepdad used to say he could eat a kg of chocolate and eat an orange and the orange would counteract the effects of the chocolate. He is a diabetic now. That you swallow 8 spiders a year in your sleep, the origins of that myth is so weird. It made its way around message boards in the 90s and possibly earlier. Then at some point, the Snopes Usenet board, pre-website, claimed that the myth was invented by a tech journalist who wanted to illustrate how lies spread on the internet. Except that Snopes lied, the journalist never existed. So now there's a second layer to the myth, that being the myth of who invented it and why. Just let me know. That you have to wait 24 hours to report someone missing in the USA. There is no law about waiting, you don't have to. Push to make the police cooperate and list the person missing immediately when you suspect something isn't right. Don't lose precious time, it's extremely important if the person truly is missing. You want to file a report as soon as possible. The longer you wait, the harder it can be to find that person. If you tell the truth, I won't get mad. This is exactly the same as saying if you confess, you won't go in jail. Goldfishes really do not have a memory span of 5 seconds. They actually remember things for months, recognize their owners, and are able to distinguish them from other people. I had 2 goldfish when I was younger. Their names were Paulo and Mr. Fishy. When Mr. Fishy died, Paula spent the next couple of days frantically swimming around the tank trying to find him. It was heartbreaking to watch. Oh, that hurts. I love goldfish, they are adorable. Everyone in China eats rice as their staple carbohydrate. Edit, https://thoughtcatalog.com/Sherrick Miller/2014/08/ This fact about China will shock you. From the article, people in those villages who grow mostly maize and wheat eat what they grow, or perhaps what their neighbors grow. They don't grow rice, they don't bite, they don't travel or eat out. I met one old woman who had never in her 80+ years ever been outside of the village. They have never eaten rice. What is their staple carb? Rice is a southern Chinese thing. Northern Chinese eat wheat, and many of those northerners see rice as an exotic, foreign food.